What's happening, man? Man, I went to go see the Star Trek movie today, the new one. I'm reminded of that vacuum cleaner right over there. It sucks. It's no good. Man. I don't even drink, but you could get me half drunk, and I could write a better script than that. Since recently, some other YouTube photographer recently made a video about how all fisheye shots suck, which is just one of the stupidest statements ever made on this earth, I thought I would counter that stupidity with telling you everything you ever wanted to know about fisheye, which is the best, because, oh my god, I got me fisheyes. I got every fisheye Nikkor lens ever made. Have owned them. I've got most of them here, actually, including a Samyang lens, and please God, don't ever ask me about Samyang or Rakinen ever again, because I don't recommend them except for this Samyang lens, which I got Samyang lens, that's tough to say, for the Fuji X mount. Okay, let me place that over here for the time being. Let's start off with a lens that I'm the only person in the world that has ever done a review on this lens. It is ever so slightly rare. This is the 16mm AIS Nikkor f3.5 all metal heavy duty construction. Phenomenal. It has built-in filters. Right over here we have 3 filters, and you just actually have a ring where I can change it to yellow, green, or red. Yeah, that is for, obviously for film photography. So if I actually bring it over here to N for neutral, then I'm not going to get any coloration. This is actually an exquisite lens, and the throw on it is quite decent, which most fisheye lenses you're talking about. Here's infinity, there's closest. Here's infinity, there's closest. This is a very rare lens. If you find one of these for a deal, buy it. That is the 16mm f3.5 Nikkor, a rather rare lens, and I got this one special ordered from Japan, and I have made a video review on it months and months ago. The only video review on earth of this lens. No one else has got any review on it. I mean, it's really rare, but there should be a video review about this lens. If I found another one like this for a decent price, I would buy it in a heartbeat. Good fisheye lenses are hard to make. Let's go on to, I'll talk about these Nikkor lenses here in a second. Just offhand, it's the only Samyang lens that I own. There are 2 versions of this. You have to be very careful. The version 1 kind of sucks. Version 2, you'll notice how wide this rear element opening is and how much wider this rear element is. This will designate the 2. The version 1 and version 2 look basically the same as this, but you need to see the rear mount. This is the second version that is superior, and this is orderable and was ordered by me in Fuji X mount, so I can have a fisheye. It's actually an exquisite lens, really damn cheap. The thing is that there is something even better than this. Yeah, I know this is 8mm versus 10.5mm, but the very best option for color saturation and resolution, and as a superior lens, and this is absolutely, I'm going to talk about these 2 in a second over here. This is the best lens. This is a DX lens. It's a 10.5mm. This is the absolute best lens to buy. Listen closely here. Whether you own a Fuji, you'll need a Metabones adapter, of course. Whether you own a Fuji, a full-frame Nikon, or a DX Nikon, this is the lens that you want. Why the hell is this lens better than all of these? And it's the best for DX, best for FX, and it's best for a Fuji. Or any other sort of mirrorless camera you want to mount it to. Here's the reason why. This lens is made, I've got 2 of these lenses. This is one that I actually modded. I did the full fisheye effect mod on it. So I got 2 of them, which is a bit too many, but whatever. This lens is incredible. It's made in Japan. The resolution, color saturation, it's exquisite. Okay, is that the only reason why? No, it's not. When it comes to fisheye, when you throw this into DX crop mode on a full frame camera, no issues at all. What the hell does that mean? Well, generally speaking, obviously you're tossing away a good bit of your sensor when you take a DX lens, which of course necessitatively vignettes on a full frame sensor, and you throw in a DX. On a regular lens, that's the truth. You're not intentionally like, well, this is going to be the best lens for my full frame camera. It's like, what did you buy? A DX lens. And you're like, are you crazy? Full frame fisheye lens shots are not blown up that big traditionally. This is a far, far, far better value than the current fisheye lens for the full frame Nikkor, which is this is a wonderful autofocus lens, a D series autofocus, $1,000. Okay, is it any much better on a 20 by 30 print than that taken from a DX crop sensor on the full frame camera with this DX lens? No, it's not. Why? Because it's a fisheye. Secondly, really important. I was outside, a mosquito bit me. At least I hope it was a mosquito. Secondly, you can turn, I don't know if you know how expensive a circular fisheye is. You see there are these little things. Let me take this off, and this is how the other 10.5 millimeter Nikkor fisheye looks like before I cut the petals off of it. You see the petals on this built-in lens hood on the 16 millimeter? This was also on the 10.5. Now this is metal. On the full frame, cutting these petals off wouldn't do anything. It would turn it into a circular fisheye, but since the image projection is so large, you wouldn't see anything. Since this is a DX crop sensor lens, by actually taking, I used a hacksaw. You have to be very careful doing it. By basically circumcising this lens, that's kind of the most appropriate way to call it, right? Circumcising it. By circumcising this lens and cutting off that lens hood, this went from a normal fisheye with 180 degrees of view to 220. How bad is it? Not bad, but bad, good. When you're sitting there holding the camera standing straight up, if you don't actually get back, it will capture your feet. What you do is you mount this lens, once it's been circumcised, onto your full frame Nikon. There is a setting in your menu settings where it automatically lets you take the camera out of automatic DX crop mode. When you stick this lens, since it has little CPU contacts in the back of it, your full frame Nikon goes, hey, this is a DX lens, and it sizes down the image sampling of the sensor to the DX crop mode. But you can take it out of that, and you could say, no, I want you to take a full frame image of this lens. And what it will do is it will give you a circular fisheye shot that people love. Now, if you actually take a circle, I'll post some image samples that I have in the link below. The circle image will just be barely cut off on the top and on the bottom, and there will be some black, totally black spots over here in the corner, but it will be a true circular fisheye shot. The angle of view from 180 to 220 is so radical, it makes for very interesting shots. So this lens becomes two different lenses, but once you circumcise the lens hood off of this so that instead of seeing a square image of projection, it sees a circular image of projection only on a full frame camera, it does not affect the way the lens works at all. If you stick it in DX crop mode, it's going to work the same. If you stick this on your DX camera, since it only sees an image of projection relative to the DX projection on this, all you've done is remove just a little bit of the hood, but it does not change anything at all on the DX camera. It only changes things on a full frame camera when you take it out of auto DX crop mode. So cutting this hood off does not change absolutely anything at all about the way it shows an image. What it does is it gives you an additional feature for use on a full frame camera. Typically this lens is like $400 used. This is the lens to buy full frame Nikon, DX crop Nikon, or mounted with a Fuji adapter for Fuji. The throw on this lens, here's infinity, here's closest, here's infinity, here's closest. You see how close that travel is? Infinity, closest, infinity, closest. It basically means that no matter where you set it at, you don't have to worry about well, this is an autofocus lens. The one lens in the world that really does not need autofocus is a fisheye, because basically wherever you throw it, here, it is in focus. Everything from here to infinity is in focus. So, well, autofocus does play a very, very slight role with this lens, even at f2.8. It doesn't really. Love fisheye shots. But when you have this lens, you have to be careful cutting this off, because you have to be careful you're not cutting into, the metal ring that mounts the most expensive element in this lens, which is the front element. So you'd have to be careful doing that. I made a video on how to do that. You basically just mark it like 7 millimeters above the gold ring. You mark it and you cut it into it slightly. Man, this is some really tough plastic too. It actually takes quite a while to do it. But the results are exquisite. And so this is the best lens, fisheye lens, to own for your Nikon. And it's also my best on my Fuji. I basically don't use my Samyang. I got it and it's a wonderful lens, but this is better. It's just better, period. Flat out, bar none. Now this is the best. I just thought you said this was the best. It is the best, but this does have a wee bit better image, and this will give you a wee bit more. And if you're a paid photographer, I told you when and why to use a fisheye lens. You're using it like pepper or paprika when you're making your meal. You know, it's not the primary ingredient. It is the spice that you use for your wedding photography, your corporate shot. You have to know how to use the fisheye properly, where to use it, when not to use it. But the newest, and it's very expensive, it's $1,000. The newest D-Series Autofocus 16mm Nikkor is exquisite, and here it is. Also, drop-in filters. It comes with a set of drop-in filters. They're removable right here from the rear. You always need to have a clear one mounted. I don't know where my other filters are for this lens. I'm sure they're somewhere. Anyway, so that's it. That's the latest Nikkor. This lens recently took a price increase. It's made in Japan. It's all metal. Even though it is autofocus, it's an autofocus screw drive. Still doesn't really need autofocus. Fisheyes don't need autofocus. Here's a lens that is a next best value. And this is the AIS Nikkor 16mm fisheye, all manual focus, also an f2.8, also the same thing. It comes with a set of filters unless the moron that's selling them forgot it, and you should always have at least one filter there. You actually press this in and you unscrew it, and that's what mounts the filters. Since you can't mount the filter on the front of this lens, normally you just put the clear filter on there that it came with and leave it there and don't worry about the other filters since they're filters for film photography. But that's it, folks. This is the AIS Nikkor 16mm. This is the one that's quite prolific on the web, usually the one that you find in Japan. It is very susceptible to balsam separation because there are several glued elements in this lens. Anybody that mistreats this lens is in for a surprise because it's a valuable lens and it is fragile, and it is, you stick it someplace really dry and hot, you're screwed. The balsam separation will set in, make your shots look milky if you're shooting in any sort of bright illuminations. But any flare will make the shot look milky. So that's it. The top recommendation is a 10.5mm Nikkor for everything. Because you can also cut it, circumcise it, whatever you want to call it, and give an additional feature and turn this into a 220-degree angle. Go from 180, see out here, to 220. And when you got 220, you literally have to watch where the hell you hold that camera because it is going to capture your feet. Most assuredly, if you're not careful. You're not used to that. It's like, I have to actually pull my camera out here and bring my feet back. It's going to capture my feet. And a circular fit, you know, this is a free modification on this lens. And I don't know if you know it, like I said, but a circular fisheye is exquisitely expensive, but this is free. All you have to do is be careful and cut it off, and you've got yourself one damn expensive lens, because any photographer knows that a circular fisheye is very, 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 very expensive. But this is a free mod, and it's totally a real circular fisheye. When you do that and stick it on a full frame Nikon and stick it into non-DX crop mode, where the camera does not automatically shut down the sampling from the full frame sensor to DX, you just leave it at full frame, and then it grabs the entire circle of that 220-degree image, and it makes for beautiful images if you use it right, of course. So that is it. That is the full story, the full lowdown on fisheyes. It is definitely, I can assure you, the most exhaustive examination of fisheye lenses on the internet, because ain't no other chick on the internet got more information about fisheye lenses than I do. So I've given you the skinny. Here's the skinny from the fat guy on Nikkor fisheyes, and what's recommended that you have. I mean, there's like There's over $3,000 of lenses just sitting here, and that's ridiculous, because fisheye lenses are not that big. That's ridiculous. Yeah, this lens is pretty cheap, but I'm talking about those. So. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.